In the fall of 2003, the simple act of bringing groceries into the house or watching TV in your own living room became an act of courage in Bloomington, Minnesota. A sniper had turned its quiet, tree-lined streets into a shooting gallery. The fear was a physical presence, a constant, cold dread. But the real horror wasn't the random bullet that could strike at any moment. It was the man pulling the trigger. On November 22nd, the violence escalated from property damage to murder, shattering the illusion of random violence forever. The investigation would expose a truth more terrifying than any phantom sniper. The architect of their fear was one of their own, a devoted family man named Tim Damm. How could a seemingly normal man be behind this? Who was living a secret life so dark and twisted it defied belief. As we journey through this true crime mystery, tap the like button and subscribe to our channel. You won't want to miss a single twist as we unravel what really happened next. Linda Damm, 44, was a vibrant and beloved third-grade teacher at Oak Grove Elementary School. To her colleagues, students, and friends, she was the picture of warmth and stability. She and her husband, Tim, a successful IT project manager, lived in a handsome, two-story colonial in a peaceful Bloomington neighborhood with their 2 teenage sons. By all outward appearances, they were the epitome of the American dream. That Saturday morning, Linda was in her kitchen, preparing for a garage sale. It was just after 8 a.m. The morning sun streamed through the windows. As she stood near the sink, a single .22 caliber bullet, fired from a distance, sliced through the kitchen window and struck her in the chest. She collapsed to the floor. Tim Damm, who had been upstairs, heard the shot and the sound of breaking glass. He rushed downstairs to find his wife mortally wounded. He called 911, his voice a mask of panic and despair. Paramedics arrived swiftly, but it was too late. Linda Damm was pronounced dead at the scene. The initial assumption for police was grim but straightforward. Linda had been the latest and most tragic victim of the random sniper who had been plaguing Bloomington for weeks. There had been over 24 shootings, and while no one had been seriously injured before, the potential for tragedy was always there. Now, it has arrived. The Bloomington Police Department, led by investigators Mike Ficcadenti and John Locks, launched a massive operation. They canvassed the neighborhood, searched for shell casings, and tried to triangulate the sniper's position. The shot had come from a wooded area behind the Damm family's backyard, a spot accessible from a nearby creek bed. But almost immediately, small, discordant details began to emerge. The random sniper theory started to develop cracks under the weight of evidence and intuition. First, there was the trajectory. The sniper's nest was positioned with a direct, unobstructed view into the Damm kitchen. Of all the houses on the block, why this one? Furthermore, the shot was precise. It had to pass through 2 panes of glass in the kitchen window and still hit its target with lethal accuracy. This didn't seem like a random act of vandalism, it felt like an assassination. Second, there was Tim Damm's behavior. While he played the part of the grieving husband perfectly in public, investigators noted subtle inconsistencies. He was very specific and controlling about the information given to the media. He seemed more focused on the sniper narrative than on grieving his wife. Most tellingly, when detectives asked for his computer to check for any threatening emails or strange activity, he became noticeably hesitant and defensive. He was an IT professional, he explained, and he had already cleaned the computer to protect his family's privacy, a huge red flag for any investigator. The third crack was financial. A routine look into the Damm's finances revealed that Tim was in serious trouble. Despite his 6-figure salary, he was drowning in over $100,000 of credit card debt. He had taken out a second mortgage on the house and had even borrowed against his 401k. The pressure on him was immense. And then, detectives discovered the life insurance policies. Tim Damm stood to gain over $1.2 million from his wife's death. Motive was now firmly on the table. The random sniper was beginning to look like a very convenient cover for a calculated murder. With Tim Damm as their prime suspect, investigators faced a dilemma. How did he do it? He had an alibi, albeit a thin one. He was home at the time of the shooting, but he claimed he was upstairs. There were no witnesses placing him in the sniper's nest. The murder weapon was nowhere to be found. If Tim was the killer, he had an accomplice. The break came from an unexpected source: Tim Damm's own internet history, which he had failed to completely erase. Deep within the recovered data, detectives found a trail leading to a shadowy online world. Tim was an active participant in various fetish and swinger forums. His online persona was Chip, a man very different from the conservative, church-going father he presented in his daily life. Through these forums, he had developed a relationship with a 33-year-old man from St. Paul named Brian Flowers. Flowers was a drifter with a criminal record for theft and disorderly conduct. Their online chats, which detectives painstakingly reconstructed, evolved from sexual fantasies into something much darker. Chip began to spin a tale of a miserable, abusive marriage. He portrayed Linda as a cruel and controlling woman from whom he needed to be freed. The digital evidence revealed a chilling plot. Tim, using his IT skills, had created encrypted email accounts to communicate with Flowers. He offered Flowers a deal: $5,000 to kill his wife. He provided Flowers with a map of his neighborhood, a schedule of his family's routines, and a detailed description of Linda. He even specified the weapon: a .22 caliber rifle, which he knew would be relatively quiet and less likely to attract immediate attention. Tim Damm wasn't just a husband who decided to kill his wife. He was a project manager outsourcing a murder. With Brian Flowers identified, investigators moved quickly. They tracked him down and brought him in for questioning. Flowers was not a criminal mastermind. Faced with the overwhelming evidence of the online conversations, which Tim had foolishly believed were deleted, Flowers folded almost immediately. He confessed to his role as the triggerman. He told a sordid tale. On the morning of the murder, he said, Tim Damm had let him into the house early and shown him the layout. He then directed Flowers to the sniper's nest in the woods and gave him the rifle. After the shooting, Flowers fled, and Tim later met him to retrieve the weapon and pay him a partial sum of $1,500. The rifle, Flowers claimed, was disposed of by Tim. On December 11, 2003, just 19 days after Linda Damm's murder, Bloomington police arrested Timothy John Damm. He was charged with first-degree murder. Brian Flowers was charged with second-degree murder as part of a plea agreement. The community was stunned. The random sniper, the source of so much fear, had never truly existed. The monster was not a stranger in the woods, but a husband and father sitting at the kitchen table. Tim Damm's trial began in February 2005. The prosecution, led by Hennepin County Attorney Amy Klobuchar, who would later become a U.S. Senator, built a methodical and devastating case. The centerpiece was the digital evidence, the recovered emails and chat logs that laid out the murder-for-hire plot in explicit detail. The prosecution argued that Tim Damm was a man living a double life. On the surface, he was a pillar of the community. Underneath, he was Chip, a man consumed by debt and secret desires. He saw murder as the solution to all his problems. He could collect life insurance to erase his debts, and he would be free to pursue the lifestyle he secretly craved. The random sniper attacks provided him with the perfect camouflage, a pre-existing narrative of terror into which he could insert his wife's murder. The defense argued that Brian Flowers was the real killer, acting alone and trying to frame Tim after their online relationship soured. They painted Flowers as an unreliable, pathological liar. However, this theory crumbled under the weight of the digital timeline, the financial records, and Flowers's detailed knowledge of the Damm household, which he could only have gotten from Tim. Most damningly, the prosecution presented evidence that Tim had tried to hire another hitman after Flowers. While out on bail before his arrest, he had approached a fellow jail inmate, offering him $10,000 to kill Brian Flowers and a key police investigator, hoping to silence the case against him. This demonstrated a continued pattern of cold-blooded calculation. In April 2005, the jury found Tim Damm guilty of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Brian Flowers, for his cooperation and testimony, was sentenced to 20 years in prison. The murder of Linda Damm left a permanent scar on Bloomington. Her two sons lost both parents in an instant, their mother to violence, their father to betrayal and prison. Linda's family and friends were left to grapple with the horrifying truth that the man they had broken bread with was a narcissistic and manipulative killer. The case serves as a grim lesson in the perils of the digital double life and the dark secrets that can fester behind a picture-perfect suburban facade. It highlighted the evolving role of digital forensics in solving crimes, proving that even a tech-savvy individual could leave a trail that diligent investigators could follow. Ultimately, the labyrinth of secret lives and the sniper's random terror were all a smokescreen for a single, brutal act of betrayal. Linda Damm's world was not shattered by a stranger, but by the man who had vowed to protect her. Her story forces us to confront an uncomfortable and haunting reality. The very bonds of love and family we rely on for safety can be the very weapons used to destroy us. If a home can become a murder scene and a protector of the predator, where are we ever truly safe?